Good morning, evening, afternoon. Mas Sajady here. Welcome to Mas on Sunday, where we unearth the truth about frequencies and how this reality works. Now, one of the things that we're getting more and more as we get more and more popular, which is really, really amazing. So thank you for that. So remember to like this channel, tell it to your friends, especially if they're uh, intrigued on how reality works, or they're the scientific type that really pushes away and goes, "Hey, I want to know real answers." So a couple things there, guys. Again, what we do is we really uncover the basic truth on why things happen. If you look at nature, nature is always at its top level truth. It's always at its first principle. There's no exceptions to the rule. Whether you look at, excuse me, whether you look at any, physics principles, uh, like electromagnetism, gravity, or anything else, the way that planetary systems work is very precise. It's very consistent. There is no exceptions to the rule. It doesn't care who you are, what nationality you are, what culture you are, whatever it is, it works on us. And the planetary systems and animals and land, whatever it is that's created in this universe, equally. And that's the key when we get into the human kingdom, the human realm. We start to make up our own rules, which is okay. There's a reason for that I won't get into, because today is about navigating financial uncertainty, um, and then checking on people and seeing why they have issues with their finances. But and again, when humanity starts to seek, and that's the key, we've stopped seeking. We're starting to go backwards. Actually, we're starting to get into our technologies, thinking that our technologies are going to save us, and they're really not. Technology over time, yes, we get more and more expensive, but over time, what happens is that, as Ray Kurzweil would say, who's a great futurist, he says that we come into technological singularity, where technology rises, humanity's consciousness stays even, or actually, as I see it, devolves. And then that point when the two intersect, it's called technological singularity, where machines take over the earth. And it's happened before. It's happened before in other cultures, where literally technology, and even though it's not as advanced, as it is today, although back in the day there was high level technology, but even if it wasn't as advanced as today, it was more advanced than, say, the people's consciousness. So, and that's the key. When technology, or the frequencies of nature, or the consciousness of nature that comes through into human form, but the humans don't evolve, what happens is that we start to go extinct. And this is what's happening today. So you'll see a lot of people, well, crossing over, for some strange reason. Sure, it could be COVID, it could be some other things, but again, this is, say, the end, or it could be the beginning of a new era for humans, as long as we wake up and see how nature does technology. And then that way, our technology actually resonates with nature's technology. In this case, and we cover technology, by the way, it's medication, medicines, um, um, new ways of like AI, that's really fantastic. And one more thing before we get into, the impact sessions, where I read individuals and pinpoint exactly what's going on, is that, God, now I forgot. Um, is that technology, there's nothing wrong with technology. It's just that what happens is that when we really don't enhance ourselves to take advantage of the technology, this is where technology gets destructive. Okay. So I'm not one of those people that go, hey, we're against technology, let's go to simple times and so on, like that, kind of like the Amish. That's all crazy. Again, not offending. Hopefully, I'm not offending anybody, but again, we need to evolve with technology, and that's really the key. In this case, navigating financial uncertainty. We did a great podcast, I believe, just last week. So if the team can put it on the link, last week's podcast, it's actually a deep state meditation for you to come into, say, a better understanding on what finances is all about, according to the universal laws, not my laws, not the government's laws, not the group of people that control this world and all that stuff, or the Federal Reserve or anything like that. It's literally nature's laws that we're coming back into. All right. All right. So, what is a impact session? Impact sessions are, well, just as the name implies, it is a session that's very impactful. Unlike psychology, self-improvement, and all those things that we do that are time-based, that are limited of the scope of the mind, we go much deeper. We go into the frequency work. We go into, say, the original alchemy, or your main blueprint, your blueprint on how you created your life even before you had a brain. And you go, well, gosh, how can that work? Well, before, when you were being born, you didn't have a brain till quite some time, until your brain started to form. Okay. So again, we go to that level of the intelligence, or what I call it, super intelligence, that actually has created a blueprint that allows your brain to function properly. We have to get to that level. And this is where the new era is leading us. We're going much, much deeper beyond the confines of the mind to transform our lives. There's tens of thousands of people who have already transformed, and we'll just show you these individuals. I don't know if they're new to me or not, but as I work on these individuals, you'll actually start to feel the frequencies, or perhaps feel the transformations just by listening. That's how powerful these frequencies are. And on top of that, as I work on one individual, like I said, if you have of similar patterns, I'll be working on you as well. Okay. And again, it's all in the world of frequencies, which is a natural state of being, by the way. I won't talk about the science on it. Um, Seems like they might be having technical issues on the video, Demi. So take a look at that. But in the meantime, all right, we'll go to Leva, and then we'll go to Manasi. Hey, Leva, how are you?
Hi, good morning.
Morning, hon. Anything special you want to work on? I know this is focused on, say, finances, but there's a lot to finances
Mhm.
that we can talk about.
I feel like there's kind of like a bifurcation in around my finances. I feel like I
Mhm,
get downloads from spirit about, you know, a billion
mhm,
dollar business and wealth consciousness and all of these codes. Yet
mhm.
when it comes to my personal finances, especially I'd say in like the last year and a half, it's like tanked. So I can help other people, but mine have gone by the wayside. So there
Okay.
seems to be a disparity.
Yeah. So wonderful. And how long have you been with XI doing exponential intelligence? Hub?
I found you in July, just a couple days before the 18 days.
Oh, okay. Okay. So not too long. Since then, I see a lot of dramatic changes, but do you want to share those?
I feel like I've connected with family. I feel like my body has changed.
Mhm.
Kind of my just the way I think about things. I'm more deliberate about things. My relationships have shifted.
Yeah.
How I look at my perspective. So I do feel like there's been a lot of foundational changes.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yep. Just take a breath in, huh? Just notice your collarbone area. So one of the things, Leva, that I see in you is like maybe before XI, the world of XI, it seemed like you were not of this reality, if that makes sense to you. You kind of were outside of this reality, or maybe if you want to call it, you had this perfect scenario of how this reality or how humanity should work, but didn't really match the reality that you were in. If that makes sense to you. This would be kind of like those children, they used to call them crystal children. They had a great idea and concept of how reality should be. And again, I'm not saying your reality of what could be is wrong or anything. It's a beautiful reality that you created or constructed, but you didn't know how to bring it forth into this time, this space. So the concepts of out here, why can't just people be nice to each other? Why can't we just all be loving? Why can't we work together? A lot of us have that, issues like, well, why can't that be? Well, you can. It's not that this reality will not support it, but the deal is that you're in it, you exist in another frequency. That is another frequency. It's not a state of mind. So you can't force people to change, by being politically correct or all these other things, or the women's movements and all that they do, to bring equality along. And by the way, I talk about that level about you because as a woman, and especially maybe your culture or your ethnicity, you get pushed on that as well. Okay, so
Mhm.
so let's work on that because that's part of being wealthy. So take a breath in again and just notice your whole being, your skin, so your flesh. All right. So one key, and I might take a little longer here. One key is that, okay, the concept we have in our mind, we have to bring it here. We can't bring it through our state of being, our state of mind. We have to bring it through our state of mind, our state of being. So we actually have to live in that consciousness. You're basically fighting against that consciousness. Does that make sense to you? You're fighting for the truth, so to speak. You've always been fighting for the truth. When you're always fighting for the truth, one, it's hard to really make a lot of money because you're the underdog. Underdogs in history have never had a lot of money. That makes sense to you. They're the outcasts of the world, right? Trying to bring in righteousness and truth and all that. And look at them. Just look back in history. So if you're that underdog bringing in truth, well, that means that you would have to be without, say, substance, or have to do with according to what society's standards are and move away from that. That's a tough nut to break, to become abundant and, live as an underdog. Does that make sense? Or to live and bring truth. Okay. So another way to do it is that you command who you are in your natural essence, if you want to call it God, the way God created you, without prejudice or without anything. It's like, gosh, I'm a being that God created. So you have your natural, unalienable rights that not even say the law can't say remove from you. So you have to be at that level, and I'm not just talking about you, and that's why I want to take this a little longer. It's like people of the world, they've moved away and they've allowed their governments, their societies, their in your case husband, but their whoever their partners to say control them. Hence, you are basically a controlled being. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. So, and again, it's not about you pushing, you picketing like most people would do. What you would do is like you would go inwards, and that's what I'm helping you with. Go inwards, and then let's remove. And as I've been speaking, I've been helping you remove, say, cultural patterns of you. Again, your skin color or your ethnicity. What ethnicity are you from? On?
English, Irish, Swedish, French, Polish, Russian, Indian, and African.
Okay. So the Indian and African aspect, hon, is a big portion for you. They're not of deserving culture. No offense, hon. It's not me saying that. It's just that society is deemed that, that African culture, Indian culture are of not deserving culture. So let's remove that. I'm not saying that they're not, but in today's society, it's come to be that way. Okay. So take a breath in. Let's remove that, say, pattern off you. So people look at you and they start to go and they start to see who Leva is, not the culture or not your skin color, because that's a big feature for you. Also, by the way, it seems like you were just to get to your level of understanding or your experience, especially for those people who are listening in who are new. So, what you would experience, say, back in the day, take a breath in and just notice your spine and your flesh. Back in the day, you were always unsure of yourself. You would always try to say, you'd always wonder if you fit in properly into groups and so on like that. Does that make sense to you? Yep. So exactly, if you're not fitting into a group, you're not going to fit into the consciousness of today's, say, uh, group that has, say, and you have money, but it's hard to sustain, basically, for you, because again, you rise to the level because you know that you are a grand being, you deserve more, you're a spiritual being, but then at a physical level, it's like, I don't deserve this. So you'd have to lose whatever to go back to the level that you're at. So in this session, what I was helping you with is like, wait a second, why can't I be at this level? I'm just as beautiful as everybody else. I deserve just as everybody else. So you're not the underdog in this scenario. You are the main dog at this level, and you go, hey, it's my turn to take what's mine, which is another thing. You don't take what's yours, you give it away. Hence, you've given away your essence, your presence. You help people by like literally giving them your essence. Hence, you'd be poor as well. So in this scenario for you, honey, I was bringing all that back for you, reclaiming who you are. So you are full substance. And then when you present yourself to the world, people go, damn, that woman's deserving, and then you will attract the money. People will literally give you stuff to go, gosh, you know what, Ella, you've done such fantastic work with me. I've changed so much. Whatever that you do, you're just such a good friend. I'm gonna give you gifts. I see you with a lot of gifts being given to you. So okay.
Mm.
Does that make sense for you, hon? So this is the
Okay.
beginning. Yeah. All right.
Thank
We'll go to, you're so welcome, sweetie. We'll go to Manasi. By the way, it's not just what I say, guys, it's about the frequencies behind what I say. And that's really the key. I could talk about my kids or anything. But again, it's about the frequencies that say transform people. Okay. Not their state of mind. Although psychology is important, but that's your physical representation that you need to, Manasi. So for you, for example, and all of you on this call, um, Leva, sorry, you'd have to adapt your psychology to your new being. All right. So we'll go to Manasi. Hello, how are you? Where is he?
Mas, it's Monacy. I can't believe I'm here. Thank you so much.
Manasi. Oh, you're so welcome, hon. Anything special? How have you changed with XI, and how new or old?
Um, I did a course a couple of years ago, the 18-day. I think I did the
Okay.
advanced. And I was introduced by a coworker of mine who has worked
Oh,
with you personally as
okay.
well. So
Awesome.
yeah, I have a little bit of a XI community.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you took it a while back, and then you're kind of that person that goes in and out. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's really the key. Manasi, right?
Monacy, yeah.
Monasi, sorry about that. Monasi. So Monasi, you're that kind of person that goes in and out. The deal with that, which is the issue here, is that you're not consistent with what you do. You get to a point, and there's a reason for it. Okay. Um, it's not because you don't have willpower. It's not because you're lazy or whatever people think, or whatever psychologists might think, or whatever that you might think. It's just basically you can't sustain, kind of like Leva there, Manasi, you can't sustain a certain level. So
Mhm.
you'll go to a certain level and go, gosh, this feels too comfortable for me, basically, and then you'll drop back down. So you're always in need of turmoil, or the propensity to be, say, shortchanged, taken advantage of, or abused. Does that make sense for you?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. If you look at your life cycle, not just experiences, but the patterns of experiences that you've had, Monasi, again, you've been taken advantage of. Does that make sense for you, huh?
Yeah,
Or people
absolutely.
taking
Yes.
advantage? Okay. So why does that happen? So what happens is, again, start feeling good about yourself to a certain level. You start feeling like on top of the world, and in this case, in finances, your finances might even show up. But your type of pattern dictates that if you get to a certain level, you will not be able to hold on to it. So even if you made, say, millions of dollars, what'll happen for you is that somehow you'd probably lose it. It seems like you've lost money or you've lost, say, love, or did
Everything
you
lost.
you've
Everything.
lost your home? Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I'm going, wait, lost money? Oh, relationship, and then you had to move out or something as well, and so on and so on. Um, did you have to leave a country too?
yes, all of the above.
Okay. Yeah, got it. So take a breath in. All right. So I see. Okay, got it. So you're the conditioning of genetic makeup, by the way. One, two, three, four. One, two, three. One, two, three. So like three, 4 generations ago, and I could be off a generation or two, but say that your family went through famine, where they literally were comfortable and they lost everything. That makes sense for you.
Mhm.
In your, probably in your country, they lost everything. They were wealthy. They weren't like super, super wealthy from what I'm seeing, but they were more than well off. Okay. They were more than well off. But what happens is that because of war, because whatever it is, they lost everything. They had to move out. So then they gained nothing, or they lost everything. So they were at high level, but then they lost. So they have nothing. That genetic pattern, or that impacted that generation so profoundly that basically, your genetics are basically about survival, right? Your DNA, it's about surviving in humanity, not thriving. Unfortunately, in XI, we can get it to the thriving mode. So in your case, basically, your DNA dictates, in your structure or your family tree dictates that, oh, in order for me to survive, I'd have to lose everything. So basically, that's the programming. It's like things get too good for me to survive, because if you didn't move out of your house, you'd probably be killed, or I'm seeing that they would kill you or shoot you or whatever. Basically, under threat. So basically, it's like, oh, genetics goes, oh, good, okay. In order for me to survive, I have to lose everything. So that's the cycle that you run. By the way, it's not just yours, but think of the people. How many online here? And again, comment in. How many of you have a yo-yo effect, just like Monacy here, where you'll thrive in not just money, but a lot of things, and it's like, gosh, it's perfect. And that's where you are, Monacy, right? It like things get really, really perfect for you, and then all of a sudden it just crumbles, and it's just like you crash, and you go, what the hell happened? That makes
Mhm.
sense for you, hon? Okay.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
it's got nothing to do with you. If you go to Tony Robbins, people, Tony Robbins group would go, or Joe Dispenza, it's like, well, it's in your mind, you gotta be more of a gladiator, you gotta, just stand for your stuff and yell and do all this stuff. No, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. It's basically your genetic cycle, right? Your DNA. And this is where again, it's just like your skin color. No matter or your culture, if you don't like your culture, your skin color, your identity, and you try to change, like what's happening in today's world, by the way,
Mhm.
it doesn't work. You'll always be that unless you change it at a frequency level. So and there's a lot of people that actually run your pattern, by the way,
Yeah.
modesty. So let's take a brief breath in as a group. Notice your spine. Also, other personal factors is, one, you don't have a really clear identity of who you are. You kind of gravitate to people, and they show you the way, but then they also they take too much from you, and then you start to lose your identity. If that makes sense to you.
Mhm.
I think your mom did that to you. You seem like you were never good enough. You're very pretty, but then it's like you don't feel pretty. Does that make
Mhm.
sense to you?
Yes.
Because your mom or dad might have criticized you,
Yeah.
from what I'm seeing. Oh, take a breath in. And these are all the little personal stuff that, that are easy to shift. Although in psychology it could take decades, take a breath in. Also, since they didn't want you to be sexually active, say when you were younger, from what I'm seeing, um, they would criticize you. They would say you're not good enough. They would say sex is dirty, all those kind of things for you, not for you to be out there and exploring. Does that make sense for you, hon?
And so I never dated, and so I'm 35 and I'm single.
Got it.
So
Okay.
like
So
it, the terrible relationship, like just unable to actually get into a relationship. I'm stuck in like at a certain level in my finances. I'm unable to move upwards in my career. So
yep,
I
yep,
don't know where all of those things converge, or I
yeah.
mean,
It's
yeah.
all the same thing, Monacy. It's all the same thing. It's all the same pattern. You just basically, again, if you basically what your pattern is like, but if you stay at this level, you're going to be a bad person. You're going to be destroyed, and so on, whatever it is. And then it's like, gosh, I don't want to do that. So you go below. And then what on top of that is like you've learned enough. You stop the yo-yo effect by going, well, if I get a better job, if I get into a really good relationship, then you know I'm going to lose it anyway. So I'll just stay at the lower realms. So what I was doing for you, on just because of time, I was doing what I was doing for you and other people watching, basically was allowing you to say peel away the filter. You literally have a filter. I allowed you to peel away. So I would take a look at yourself in the mirror and do a mirror meditation with one of the 18-day hyper meditations that we do, and just look at yourself. Just look at yourself in the mirror, and you'll start to see your identities of what other people have deemed who you are. Just peel away. Okay. And then that
Okay.
way you get to see the beauty of who you are. And when you do that, you own it. And this is where you start to elevate yourself. Money for you actually comes easy once you remove this pattern, because it's already in your genetic makeup, by the way. So, all
Thank
right.
you.
So you're so welcome, honey. You're free. Very beautiful. Uh, we'll go to Baran. I'm sorry. Who's that? Please say your name.
It's Boriana.
Oriana. Wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful once you say it properly. Oriana.
Thanks.
Um, yeah, and again, people change, shift, and transform so fast. It's really amazing. Comment in, guys, on if you felt that transformation for you as well. So, Boriana, anything special that you want to work on?
So everything you said so far resonated a lot. I've
Mhm.
identified several collective and generational trauma with regards to money.
Mhm.
But I think this is just a symptom of something which is deeper, something
Mhm.
underlying. So
Mhm.
I'm basically open to whatever you feel is the best.
Yes. So you're a searcher, you're an investigator type. You're going, why is this happening? Which is really beautiful. So you're that perfect person for XI, because XI is not just about, oh, I'm just gonna have faith. I'm just gonna have trust in this guy, just or somebody mentioned, me to you, and then I'm just gonna trust. But you're a questioner, which is really good. It allows you to go deeper and understand the mechanics on how this reality works or how XI works. But the biggest key I see in you, just to keep it on focus, Boreana, is that in order for you to be successful or make money, is that you have to be a man. Women in your family or your culture, they have no value, basically, especially in your family, from what I'm seeing. Or the men, I see a father or grandfather just basically demeaning women, not having, say, self-worth. Does that make sense to you? You
Yeah.
you basically grew up that way, by the way, and you're always like fighting, and that's why you're a searcher. It's like, well, why don't I have self-worth as a woman? Right? Because you're actually attuned to, say, the higher principle, or if you want to call it God. And by the way, when I say God, it's called pure source. I'm not pertaining to any religion, but a being that, say, created all the possible frequencies that we can enjoy. So take a breath in, hon. So the more, and this happens to a lot of women, by the way, you look at any, so you're not alone, Brianna. Okay, so this is a real women's movement, by the way. Okay. If you really want to stand up for women, or if you want to be that grand woman, you don't want to fight, because it destroys you. Again, that's a man's thing, to fight for your right to be a woman. It doesn't make sense. It's just like all these countries fighting for their right to be free. That's fucked up. That's a fucked up concept, especially what's happening, in Israel and Gaza and all that. It's just fucked up. By the way, it never worked. It's never worked. So again, for women to be women, you have to be a woman and stand of being a woman, and then you own the place. And nobody can take that away from you. So take a breath in, Sudi, and just notice your solar plex, actually your ribs. Did you break your ribs, or do you have issues with your ribs, or I don't know, like digestive area here?
Not that I'm aware of. I have something with the spine. I have scoliosis and kyphosis, which is
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah.
So I kind of see that your ribs aren't they're not perfectly even or spaced out properly either. Does that make sense to you? It's almost like the left side is a little off, or then your right side. I don't know. I could be off, but
Yeah, but I thought that's normal for all people. I mean, I knew that, but I just thought it's normal.
yeah. Well, I'm just scanning your frequency, and I'm not just working on your finances. When I see you, I basically see your whole essence and how you operate. So yeah, so spinal issues, or what you might call scoliosis. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I've helped a lot of people align their spine properly. Okay, so let's it through frequency work. So take a breath in, hon. And you might need to go to a chiropractor and all that, but basically I open the path for you to have an aligned spine or an aligned life, basically. And then that affects your spine, and then you'll start to see your rib cage kind of like normalize, or again, I see one side compressed compared to the other side, which might affect your breasts and all that stuff as well as a woman. So it might affect all that. Okay. So not to get too personal, but take a breath in, huh? Notice your spine. All right. So, and again, for those women, even men, by the way, just again, notice your spine, and then notice if you can imagine the elegant curve that your spine should be. I'm sure you've seen that elegant curve of a spine. Okay, just pay attention to that. And let's remove, say, the masculine frequency, because basically what you've done all your life, Boryana, is that it's like you should be a boy or a man to have, say, the blessings of this world. Basically, that's what you're always fighting. And you go, well, I want to do it as a woman. So you're always finding ways, but then lately you've kind of gave up the last few years. It's like, shit, it seems like I have to transform into a man frequency to be successful. Does that make sense? And most, it's like women, they don't want to do that. So in this scenario, it's like you can be a strong woman and have security and have finances on your own without depending on, say, a masculine frequency to operate. So you either diminish your worth and marry somebody, which a lot of women do, especially in the LA area here in the US, or you turn into a man yourself, which, and then go, I don't need a man, but I'll be a man, so to speak. That makes sense? And it's very destructive for you. So take a breath in again, hon. Your father was not comfortable with you.
Well, I'm Bulgarian, so women are naturally stronger than men. And yes, he didn't want children at all. I mean, he never told me, but energetically, I can feel it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing. It's like, shit, if you're not wanted, to you, it's like, oh gosh, I'm not wanted. It's got nothing to do with you, hon. He just didn't want children for some reason. And it's interesting what you said, that in Bulgaria, the women are stronger, more masculine than men.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from, again, war. What happens is, all the men die. So what do women have to do? They have to take the man's place, but they didn't take it as a woman. They actually transmuted themselves into a masculine frequency to survive. In nature, animals don't do that, by the way. A female stays a female and like protects their young, brings food and all that as a vibrant female. In human societies, women go, security is it's a masculine frequency. It's bullshit. Security, wealth, protecting yourself, protecting your children. Those are all masculine frequencies. That's just total bullshit. It's not. So even the alpha concept, the alpha male, by the way, the scientists got it wrong. It was actually a mother wolf protecting its young. It wasn't even male. It was very feminine. So take a breath in, hon. So what I was helping you with is like peel away your identity, your masculinity, and forcing you, literally forcing you, because you need a little push. Okay. So I locked you into, say, being a female. So what you will experience, and you'll love it, by the way, that's why I locked you in and forced you, so to speak. Not against your own free will, but that's what you want. So I just helped you do it faster because it's easier. So you'll peel away your culture, you'll peel away your identity. And again, you look more, doesn't she look more feminine than when she started? Your face actually has softened up, by the way. So again, comment in. How do you feel?
Yes, it's all very validating. Thank you very much. Thank you
You're
for
so
the
welcome,
gift.
sweetie. So now that you know how to be a strong woman, and it's okay for you, because it's kind of weird again, but I'm a man and you always get controlled by men. So I'm telling you, Boriana, it's okay. I'm commanding you to be the best possible woman that you can be, a woman that is secure, financially stable, without a need for a man. Okay. I'm commanding you to be the best possible you that you can be. Okay. And you should take no other command by
Okay,
anyone else.
I
Okay.
promise. Yeah,
All right. There you go, sweetie.
thank
Yeah,
you.
you look very, very, your frequency just like changed for some reason.
Oh,
So
lovely. Thank you.
yeah, you're so welcome, sweetie. Oh, last thing, did your grandfather pass away?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I helped them cross over, by the way. Sorry. He just came in last second.
Okay.
All right. So he'll be free and it'll help you stay free. So all right.
Thank
That
you.
makes sense. You're so
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah. Thanks.
You are welcome. Reneer, it's interesting. People who are dying or have died recently, they'll like wrap around or like, hey, can you help me move out of this reality? So, and they just show up. All right. We'll go to Reneer and then
Hi,
Melissa.
hi,
Great.
Mas. Good to be
Hey.
here again.
Oh, nice. Nice seeing you, buddy. How are you?
Um, uh, Mixed up a bit. Right now, I'm a bit stressed emotionally.
Mhm. Um, um, all right. So, Rainier, it seems like you did good for a while. I don't know how long you've been with XI. Um, but
Actually, I started in 2015 and had a break in 2000 or since 2022.
mhm, yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying. It seems like you did good for a while, but then, the world and its economies, the financial structure that I talked about, last Sunday on the World Frequency Meditation. A lot of people are under strife or very anxious on what's happening. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
what's happening for you is that you're such a nice guy that people are latching onto you. It could be like your family, or your coworkers or people that you just meet at the store. They're just like latching onto you, and then their worries become your worries. Does that make sense?
That makes
Um,
sense.
are there people around you that are really worried a lot?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Not yet. Not right now, but um,
There were people.
there were people. Yeah.
Yeah. So say that this person, is so worried about things, and then basically it gets into your head, and it's like, gosh, that person could be true. Yeah, how many of you guys, again, comment in, how many of you guys are like totally, totally solid, and then some naysayer keeps talking about stuff, and then, it starts negativity, and then you start to fall into their trap, and then you start thinking negative, and you start going, gosh, what if that does happen? And then it's a downward cycle for you, Rainier. Does that make sense to
That
you?
makes sense.
So, yeah. So at first, take a breath in, my friend. Just notice your mind space. Let's have your mind be your mind. And also, especially for women, you have a say soft space around women, or basically women control you. So women control you. It's not that they control you. There's a different way of control. You want to be kind to women, or you want to be that best man for a woman. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, but probably not yet anymore. Maybe in the past.
Okay. Yeah, back in the day. Yes. So thanks for correcting me, which is really fantastic. So let's move that pattern a bit out of you even more. Okay. Before it was maybe the women that were close to you. Now it's just like women in general, so to speak, or women that are in need, or women that are worried, for example. And it's not just, this is just your case, but the flip side can happen as well, where, women, if you're running a pattern, and then, weak men are gravitating towards you. So it's the same thing, just in reverse for you. So notice your neck area, buddy. Notice the back of your brain. And I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but does diabetes run in your family?
Yes, my father got one.
Okay, got it. So again, not a doctor, but let's help you out with that as well. Okay, because which is really good, and I know you're getting pushed and so on. So one, again, this is you. You're at a high level. You're out of the water. You're not drowning anymore because of XI. All these people are drowning, and what they're doing is basically, and you're doing a great job, my friend. Before, you would jump in and try to save them, and you would drown yourself. Okay. But what you're doing now is like, you have too many ropes that you've thrown out to save other people, and they're pulling you in. So you just don't have that much strength. I mean, you've got, I see, like, say 10 or so people, like, that is hanging on to you. You're not necessarily hanging on to them, but they're hanging on to you. And their worries become your worries, basically, although you're solid. So what I'm doing for you is like helping you help those people in a different way. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, that makes
One
sense.
second.
Yeah.
All right. So take a breath in. Let's cut the ties for you. And by the way, you can't help people in that way. I think you're starting to find out, because their burdens will weigh you down. Okay. And this is what's happening in the world, not just for you, buddy. So
Yeah.
you're not alone. As the economies, as the financial, say, markets start to crash, like they will, because true value has to come in. Again, I talked about it on the last meditation. What'll happen is that people will latch on to brighter people, stronger people. They'll accuse you of things that, again, that they're guilty of, just to allow them to latch on, because you become weak. You start to question your identity of who you are. So one, at a psychology level, Reneer, you cannot question who you are. Okay. You are of a solid identity. And that's the key. You know the direction that you need to go. Don't allow other people to tell you, it's like, no, I need to go this way. So in real life, in the physical form, not real life, because we are in real life, in the physical form, say that you want to, I don't know, order a certain, say that you want to order steak. Okay. And then somebody that you're dining with goes, oh, I think the fish is good. I think the fish is even better. And then basically what you'll go is like, well, I'll have the fish then.
Okay.
Even the simplest change of mind, Reneer, will erode you back to your old self, and they'll take control over you. So if you're gonna set on having steak, fucking have your steak. Don't allow any other, even if the fish was better than the steak, you made your mind to have the steak. That makes sense to you? And I'm just giving you a little tidbit, but it's like, hey, I want to do this, on Saturday, this coming Saturday. Somebody else goes, or something else shows up. It's like, oh, hey, why don't you go with us, Reneer? It's like, no, you stick with your plan. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Because a leader sticks with their plan. Okay. And I know and for you, it's even if it's a better plan over here, initially you have to break away from being pulled. And then later on, a strong leader actually say, say goes, well, which plan is better? And then they make that choice, but you're not at that level yet. Okay. I just want you to, once you get the mindset, you trust it, you need to go that direction and stick with it. Okay. This will help you. On the back end, I was releasing all that patterns of people globbing onto you. So you'll push people away. You might get mad at people. You might like not answer their calls and all that. If you don't feel like it, don't do it.
Okay.
Okay. Don't call, don't do anything. And then you'll create an identity of your own. And that's where you become solid. And once you do, you can help people in a different way, but you need to stay solid on your own. Otherwise, you'll just drown along with them.
Thank you, Mas.
Yep. You're so welcome. We'll go to Melissa. Hey, Melissa, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. Good morning.
Morning. Anything special you'll work on, hon?
Well, at a surface level, I'm looking for my next gig, next source of income.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking for something that's going to be fit, that's going to potentialize and allow me to grow. And
yeah. Take a breath in, hon. Notice your gut. Oh, sorry, Reneer. Just, if you're still listening, I was helping you. Just one more thing on Reneer, and it'll help you guys as well, and you as well, Melissa. All right. So, and we won't take any time from your space. So for Reneer, he's coming to the point where you get to decide again on how you want to say choose the rest of your life. This is what's really cool about XI, where for him, it's like he's coming to an idea where it's like, wait a second, I don't have to choose to have diabetes anymore. And again, I can't claim anything, but a lot of people go, you know, that was my father's pattern. I don't need that anymore. So those are the choices that you become available for you. You don't have to have the heart issues, the diabetes issues, and all those things that, you know, come into the family lineage. Again, that's the level of choice that you start to have with XI. And Reneer, hopefully, chooses not to have diabetes, changes his diet, and then it's like the genetic makeup, that propensity of him having diabetes is no more. And then he can pass that on to his kids if he wants to, or if they want to attach onto it. So back to you, Melissa. Take a breath in. So your next gig, as you call it, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's beautiful, but and this is the pattern of financial pattern that a lot of people do, is that, okay, this next event or this next situation or this next stock or this next business idea or this next venture, this next great idea, whatever it is, that's going to make me wealthy. Does that make sense? That's the pattern that you're running. The next thing is going to be better for you. And it's not just, say, money, it's like relationships. For you, it's whatever it might be. It's the next do you work out or something? It's the next exercise plan or the next diet plan or the next whatever. Does that make sense for you, that pattern, or no?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
It's that desire to keep growing and moving forward.
Okay, that's a nice way of putting it. It's a desire of keep growing and moving forward. Okay, so basically I'm saying the same thing you are, but you're just sugarcoating it. And there's nothing wrong with like desire. And some people, especially if you're new, is like, well, what's the problem with growing and moving forward? There's nothing wrong with that. By the way, there's nothing wrong with becoming super wealthy. There's nothing wrong with becoming, highly spiritual. You can actually do both, not separate yourself. And that's one of the problems that's running in the background for you. I don't know if you came from a religious or spiritual background. Seems like a religious bent. That makes sense for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I like the way you said that, but okay. So say your family, your parents, maybe not your parents, maybe their parents, their grandparents was highly religious, if that makes sense, or staunch religious, that kind of pattern for you.
They became believers at one point.
Got it. Okay. So they became believers, but alongside with that, and then we'll get back to your I would call it your hopscotch pattern, your skipping pattern. Okay. And we'll do it another way for you. By the way, as we're speaking, I'm just working on you. So you might notice something in your mid back as well. I don't know if you feel frequencies. I think you do. Like your mid back. Okay. You might have back issues, by the way, from what I'm seeing. So anyway, okay. So religion. In most cases, religions or spirituality is like, well, if you become wealthy, you're a bad person. You're greedy. All the themes of, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, which was actually an arch, not an eye, not the needle eye, than a wealthy man to go to heaven. And all those scenarios are embedded in your genetic structure. So if you're moving away from that genetic pattern, or in your case religious pattern, you're moving away to create wealth, what's latched onto you is like, well, I still want to be a good person, because you, Melissa, want to be a good person. In fact, you overexert yourself being a good person. So that doesn't really work out well. You know what I mean? You kind of sell yourself short being a good person. And that's another thing that I want to talk to you about, hon, is that so there's so many facets. It's not a linear expansion in XI. It's like it's more of a spatial expansion for you. All right. So gosh, there's so many things coming out of you. I don't know which way to focus. So just give me a second. But it's really good because you're ready to grow, you're ready to expand, and you just want to transform, which is really beautiful. So a lot of things are popping off you. So here's the deal, though. So the religious thing, if you want to be a good person, the way you want to be, then you can't be super wealthy, or you can't have wealth, because it dictates that, again, according to your ideation of religion, wealthy people aren't good people, which is a myth. That's in your genetic makeup, or that would be your grandfather. Your grandfather worked his ass off, basically, but wasn't wealthy. So he was basically pissed off at the people who made easy money, by the way, from what I'm seeing. So you have to work your ass off, basically, right, to make a lot of money. That's not true. Just because your grandfather had to go through it, and again, it could have been real for him, you don't have to repeat that pattern. So let's delete that pattern for you. The other aspect of you, so let's have financial, say, worth equal spiritual awakeness, because that's what it is. The more abundant you are, take a breath in, all of you, just close your eyes and just think, if you were here in spirit form, okay, in spirit form, in physical presence here, would you not be all abundant, all encompassing? Would there be any shortcomings for you? Okay, your spirit, your pure potential. That's what spirit means, pure potential of what you could be. Would you focus in on the limitations of this world, or would you focus in on the grand possibilities that you can achieve in this world? Okay. Notice how that feels for you. Notice how that truth resonates in you, by the way. Can I help you embed that frequency in your genes, in each and every cell for you? Basically helping you remember who you really are. Okay? And then it puts away all the bullshit and all that stuff in religion that we just don't need. So you come into the pure version of whatever religion that you practice, okay? Or spirituality, or just being. If you don't practice any religion, that's all good too. All right. There we go. So let's disconnect you from that. The other aspect that that's really in the way for you, hon, I know you want to grow and expand. There's nothing wrong with that. Be a better version. But what happens for you is that, and I'll give you a scale, 0 to 10, and I'll continue to work on you. It's like, gosh, when I get to level 10, You know, I'm at level 0. When I get to level 10, what'll happen is that's when I'll be satisfied and complete. Okay. But then you'll get to level 10, and then what'll happen is that it won't satisfy you. It won't be complete. Then you'll go to the next level. Okay. The next thing that you do, the next big event, the next whatever, the next gig for you. But then over there, you start back at level 0. And then you start over again. And then you go to level 10. Does that make sense to you? So each time you're really not growing and expanding, you're starting all over again. And that's the problem. Highly successful individuals, Melissa, what they do is they go, oh, okay, this gig will get me to level 10. Boom. Okay. The next gig will get me to level 20 or 30 because I learned from the last gig. So I can do it faster, more efficiently. Okay. Now I'm at level 30. The next gig will get me to a level 45 or 50, or even say 90, because I learned from the last gig. Is that a better pattern for you rather than starting from scratch and going? This is where, if that makes sense to you, it's like, shit, I'm in the hole now. Now I need another gig. Does that make sense to you? A lot of people do that structure.
Yeah. Yes, please. I rather that pattern.
Yes. And that's a better way to grow and expand, right? So take a breath in, And I'm glad that we're finishing up with you, because that's a huge pattern that most people, it's like, and this is very, very similar to, well, the next paycheck, living from paycheck to paycheck. Okay. If you're not, say, at a higher level wealth, medium income, right? They don't live paycheck to paycheck, but they live from year to year, basically. So lower level is like they live paycheck to paycheck. So again, it's all the same pattern. You're not growing, you're not learning from what you did or the work or the labor that you invested to create that paycheck for you. You're just focused in on the emptiness of money, by the way. Okay. So breath in. We'll just do just a couple minute meditation here. Notice your spine. Money is, in this world, unfortunately, it's a survival mode, even if you're a billionaire. But money is actually a thriving mode. In nature. Money basically in nature means that, okay, it's kind of like a squirrel gathering nuts for the wintertime. Okay. The squirrel is not starving, but it's again, it has plenty. Humans don't run that pattern. They're starving, hence they hoard. Breath in again. Even if you have nothing to hoard. There we go. There's also a deserving pattern in you, Melissa, that'll show up for you. And that's the key. You go to level 10, it's like, shit, I don't deserve this. And then you falter down. Not a good thing. So it's like, gosh, I'm deserving of this level. What more can I deserve? What more can I expand into? So you're not recreating the hamster wheel for you. There you go. How are you feeling?
We're steady.
Yep. You're not always trying to secure yourself. You're secure, and the step that you're going to say jump off of is solid. That makes sense. You're not going from one, say, structure that's weak, so you can jump to the next structure that'll create solidness for you, and then it gets weak. You're basically creating solid structure. You jump off it to another solid structure, and this will give you that confidence that you're seeking. You don't have to sell yourself short. Really beautiful. Really nice job. You change really fast. Questions as we leave?
Just that I'm here with my boyfriend and our dog, if there's anything for him.
Um, well, let's just say that, as your frequencies, say, become enlightening, your boyfriend actually looks at you from a different perspective. That makes sense for you. And yeah, he's nice. Your dog will feel more like a dog rather than a burden taker. No offense, honey, but that's what your dog is right now. So, okay. Takes the
Okay.
burdens of you and your family. So you don't, since you don't have any burdens, they can just be a dog. All right.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, sweetie. Nice job. Very nice. All right, guys. Let's take it on to you all. And I know it's a sensitive subject, and I know, but before I'll scan you guys, and like I said, I know it's a sensitive subject for a lot of people, which is really, really sad, by the way. But this thing, I was just listening to Joe Rogan, podcast, and hear it on the news. It's happening to Hamas, Israeli, the Palestinians, and so on like that. And it's so sad that there's so many people against the Jews. And actually, I predicted this a few years ago, that old patterns of society will like evolve or come back to the surface. And that's why I want to talk about it, because it's really disgusting. We haven't evolved as a culture. That happened, whatever happened, the Jewish people happened about what, 75, I think 75, 80 years ago. So it's not even, a century old, but we didn't let it go. We didn't let it go. It perpetuated. It perpetuated. We keep hearing it in the news and over again. And I'm not, but what happened to the Jews happened in my country just a few years back, but you don't hear about it. It got buried. It happened in, from the Japanese. The Japanese did that to the Chinese. The Spanish did that to, the Indians here, and so, and everywhere else, and so on and so on and so on. So it's happened through all cultures. But the stigma of what happened to the Jewish individual stuck, and it never died. That's the problem. That stigma never died. It was like as if it happened last year, that horrendous incident. That's the problem. When you keep a stigma alive, it has to recreate itself in physical form. Okay. So this is a blatant rendition of a form that we did not want to appear. And now everybody is appalled, going, why the fuck did this happen again? And the US is going, well, it's because of Iran, and it's because of this, and they want to perpetuate that. That's just bullshit. One, I have a total different thing that's just private, on the US and all the other countries that perpetuate these wars. We can talk about that some other time. But again, overall, the deeper layers on why shit happens the way they do is just because of that. We start to keep our stigmas alive. Look at you all. Your grandparents had heart issues, and it's a stigma. You're fearful of heart issues. You go, shit. You're a young kid, and you see your parents going, shit. My parents have heart issues. That means that when I get to their age, I'll have heart issues, and so on and so on and so on. It's like, shit, I was born poor. Not me, but just overall, it's like I was born poor. I guess this is the stigma that I live in. And then that stigma perpetuates itself into reality, because you all are grand beings, by the way, right? So what are you going to focus in on? So this is the way of the society. And then what we do is like, this stigma exists. So we're going to create laws and rules and all that bullshit for us to free ourselves from that stigma. It doesn't work. Look, it hasn't worked well for African Americans. It hasn't worked well for women. It hasn't worked out for any stigma that we go, we need rules to protect the people who are weak and to protect the people who are being abused. Look what happens. We need to remove that stigma from our consciousness, from our identity. The only way to do that is raise or elevate ourselves to another level of consciousness where that stigma does not exist. Okay? Otherwise, no matter what solution that you provide, no matter what the government does or what you do, It doesn't matter. It'll repeat itself. If you look at history, if you don't believe me, how many times have we repeated the same fucking pattern over and over and over and over again? Those things don't work. Governments don't work. I'm not saying governments are bad. I'm not saying they're good. They're just people that are running at a low level consciousness. You have to elevate the consciousness to remove yourself. I mean, let's listen to Einstein, guys. Okay. If you don't listen to me, look at nature, look at Einstein. Okay. He said that you cannot create or find a solution if you're in the same level as the problem. You have to step outside the problem, guys. We have to move on. We have to move. We have to get bigger. We have to understand who we are at a deeper level. And you'll see that your problems move away. And before I go into scanning people, yes, and Pamela, thanks. Hit the like button, please. Look at your lives that have transformed with XI. You didn't make a conscious decision to go, yeah, you know what? I need to do this. Did you notice that as you elevated to a higher level of consciousness, your illness patterns, your spiritual patterns, or whatever that was bothering you started to disappear, although you might have done some work, but it eliminated. Does that make sense? You changed consciousness. You didn't change your psychology. You didn't change your rule sets or anything like that. So your emotions. You change your consciousness, your bank book, your health, your spiritual connection, they all changed because of it. Okay. That's the key. We need to do that as a world. All right. And then we'll get rid of all this. It's the Jews' problems. It's the Muslim problems and all that bullshit. We can all live together and enjoy each other's harmony. Right. All right. So already let's let's take some people to scan, guys. We'll just take a few, just because of time. This one, Sophia Moss kindly scan me. So Sophia, it just seems like, I don't know if you're new or something, but there's just kind of a new awakening. You're actually starting to see who you are as Sophia. It's almost like where you, I think it's probably the last 18 days. And again, comment in if I read you. And again, if I read you, if you're running similar patterns as Sophia, I'll be working on you as well. Take a breath in. So Sophia here, what you're doing is actually going, gosh, this is actually me. Say, for example, in relationships, you kind of drown yourself out, or that relationship. Say that you get married to somebody, for example, you basically lose your world. You create your world around your man. And again, a lot of women do that, right? It doesn't work out well. So what you've done with XI, congratulations, is like, wait a second, I can live my own life and still have that man. Does that make sense? So you don't have to lose yourself for it. You don't have to lose yourself for children, your kids, if you have kids. Whatever that is like basically what women do. Men do it too, but mostly women do it. In this case, she's a woman. Basically, it's like Sophia's here. It's like, oh, I'm a partner to somebody, and then she gets lost there. This Sophia loses herself or dies off. It's like, oh, I have kids. Boom. And then you create another version of Sophia here, and then this version dies. Okay, if this dies, these versions die as well. Hence, a lot of women are going through this death space. It's like, shit, my life is not worthy. They've got beautiful kids, beautiful husband, beautiful household. It's like, what the fuck? What's going on? Right? That's the reason why. Okay, it's an insidious, pervasive problem, by the way. So you have to come into your womanhood, being a woman, being a partner, being a woman, being a mother. When you do that, then that's where things get thriving again. That's where you raise strong, confident kids. That's where being a woman is still sensual while you have kids, and you don't have to lose all that. So that's what you're coming into, Sophia. Really, really beautiful. Nice job. Zena, wait, Xenia. It's Zarina. Oh, sorry, Zarina would love a scan. So for you, Zarina, see, you carry the burdens of the men around you. I don't know if you have brothers or you were raised around brothers, or your brothers were in trouble. Basically that kind of deal. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, from what I'm seeing is that you were kind of left alone when you were growing up because your brothers or whatever was always in trouble. that kind of pattern for you. So what's happening is that you're always left on the sideline for you. So you get into relationships, you're left on the sideline because it's always about them. For example, it's always about the men. Even if you get into a group, okay, of people, say you're getting into a group of, I don't know, I don't know, learning how to paint, okay? And there could be a full of women, but one man. Basically, that man would get the attention versus you. So it's that kind of pattern. So you're always left on the side. So basically, what's happening for you is that again, you're always left on the side, and then you try to get into the action, but you really can't because again, you're not a man. The men in your say reality has to get the attention. So let's just break that for you. Excuse me. Let's just break that for you, where you like gravitate into say receiving attention, especially from yourself. So it's more of a familial pattern or familial issue for you. Take a breath in, Serena. All right. And once you do that, you don't get overlooked from jobs. You don't get overlooked in other situations as well, or in a friend's circle, right? You'd be the outcast of that circle, for example. Although you've got, say, the most, say, intelligent conversations and so on. There we go. So Madeline, scan please. Thank you much. Madeline, yeah. I don't know how old you are, but it seems like there's an older lady that say dominates you. I don't know if your grandparents or mother is like say closer to death or maybe died recently, that kind of pattern. But whoever that person is, basically you have a dominating say mother figure. It could be a father that is running feminine patterns. Okay. Again, so it's something that you're always inferior. Okay. And then you try to hide a lot of things as well, because it's like say your mom, you're like say 14, 15, you basically, your mom dictates that you be a certain way, but you're another way, so basically you sneak out and then go be who you are over here. But then when you come back to see mom, you're that what mom expects, because you don't want to ruffle the feathers, because it's just easier to live that way. So in a nutshell, basically, Madeline, take a breath in. Let's break you out of that because you're older now, right? Basically, it's like, well, I'll just appease whoever, and then I'll hide my real self and do whatever I need to do outside of myself. But it's cool when you're young, but when you get into a relationship, you're never yourself, because then your real self dictates that you have to hide your real self. And again, that becomes a burden for you. So what I was helping you to do is just like, hey, if you want to live that real life of who you are, fucking don't be scared, Madeline. So I'm just giving you the the I want to say balls, but I want to just giving you the strength. There we go. Giving you the strength to go, no, this is me, take it or leave it. That kind of scenario for you. Okay. And once you see that you're you'll actually be more, say, likable. If that makes sense for you. So Bessa, please scan me, please. Sure. So Bessa, again, not a doctor or anything like that, but I don't know, in your family, lower brain type patterns from what I'm seeing. Again, I'm not, don't claim me. I'm just telling you what I see. I could be a madman and totally off for you, but, or your family, they have basically motor skill issues as they age. Okay. That kind of deal. So they start shuffling their feet. They trip over, something small, that kind of deal. Brain motor connection isn't there. I kind of see that in you. I don't know how old you are, but if you're younger, your parents might have that issue. You don't have to have that issue, by the way. So especially if you stay away from certain foods. Wheat, for you, for example, is not the best for you. Wheats or grains I would just stay away from corn or meat, corn meal. Yeah, corn and wheats and all that kind of stuff. Perhaps get on a keto diet. It'll really help clarify your brain, because your brain is kind of like in a fog. That's where it all begins, by the way. Okay. So once you get rid of that brain fog, you'll be more and more of yourself. There's lots of great nutrition out there. Again, get nutrition, vitamins and so on from the natural source, not chemical-based nutrition, so on like that. Okay. Take a breath in. Bessa. So once you collaborate, once you strengthen, say, your physical body there, and you're on tune, it's easier to navigate life. And then if you continue, with the 18-day hyper meditations, or anything else that we do, it'll just perpetuate that. But physically, you have to get in tune first, because that's the most important for you. Right, let's see. This is Jenny. Hamas, can you help me with my autoimmune issues, please? Yes, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but autoimmune issues, a lot of times what happens is that, and it sounds crazy, but think of your multidimensional self. Most people who have autoimmune issues, and it sounds crazy, but autoimmune is very, very interesting to me. Autoimmune happens when your body's here, your blueprint of where your, say, nerve structure should be is like here, like this, like fingers, right? This is all your nerves. This is where your identity, or that blueprint, thinks your nerves should be at. Okay. But for some reason, your physical body, this is your nerve structure of your physical body, they don't match up. And then what happens for you, is it Gina or Jenna? What happens for you is like it's off. Does that make sense? It's kind of like that, or it's like off like that for you at some time. This is where you get severe pain and so on like that, when you're way off. Okay, so your blueprint of where you should be creating yourself, and then your physical body is off. So it goes into, say, time and space. That's where I see a lot of autoimmune issues, by the way. And I was actually talking at a conference on autoimmune, and I was just like, people would stand up, I'd work on them, and it's like, shit, I feel a lot better. So take a breath in. And then if you're off like that, it starts to create, say, this, say, like a friction or sparks in your nervous system. And then from the nervous system, when it starts to create that sludge, and it is a sludge around your nerves, this is where that sludge starts to eat away at the coverings of your nerves, and then the situation perpetuates itself. And then this is where you, Jeannie, are allergic to a lot of foods, unfortunately. Okay, so again, it perpetuates. The original core is what I talked about. Okay, you're not in sync. So what I was helping you with, again, is putting you back in sync. Okay, and it seems like when you were a young kid, it seems like you were in a lot of terror or a lot of fear. Again, you pulled yourself kind of off. Take a breath in. There we go. So once this is straightened out for you, hon, and again, you might need more than this session, but I think this session will really impact you. Everything else, you have to eat the right foods and so on like that. But once you nurture yourself the proper way, and the original cause is gone, then what'll happen is that you'll actually stay healthy. Okay. All right, guys. There's so many of you on. There's lots of ways. By the way, I don't need to do a one-on-one to help you. The 18-day hyper meditation is coming up for you. That's really good. In January, we've got a 10-day deal going on to really awaken you, to help you set your goals. That's really cool. We've got a lot of things coming up. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but if the team can put that on, we have a cruise. It's called Meaning of Life Cruise for those individuals who are really, really ready. We're going to have a lot of fun there. Guys, we're going to get into altered states. We're going to get into static dance. It's not just going to be a lecture. It's going to be deep state meditations in dance scenarios. We're going to tap into, say, creativity, which is really cool. So we're going to listen back into the day For example, this is one of the cool things that we're going to do. We're going to listen back, the music of the olden days, where they got, no offense, but they had really non-GMO drugs, right? And they got into, say, altered states. So we're going to do that. I can get you into those states, into states of creativity, deep states of creativity, the same way that the that the Beatles got into, the same way that Led Zeppelin got into, or other, great musicians. So we're going to listen to their music and then tap into their creativity, not their bullshit that they got into. And you can do that without, again, the drugs. So those are the kind of things that we're going to play with in the Tahiti cruise. So take a look at that as well. All right, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. So, all right. Guys. So notice what you notice the details, guys. And if you don't like the details, change your frequencies. Okay. That'll change your life. Peace.